to Nigeria, where we are now heading for another lockdown. But the government has reintroduced tough measures in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. At 12 midnight to 4 a.m. curfew is back on the block with immediate effect. Bars and recreational centers are ordered closed with limits of attendance set for all religious and social gatherings. Let's talk about the economics of the latest restrictions and the economy beyond COVID-19 pandemic. My guest on this two-part conversation, Paul Alaje, Senior Economist at SPM Professionals. A good evening to you, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me.
The Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 says the new measures are reintroduced due to, quote, concerns about the non-compliance to public health and social measures contained in the Health Protection Regulation of 2021. Does it look like we're all guilty of this rule in a manner of speaking up to the moment?
Absolutely. I think most Nigerians are guilty. You go around the street, you find it very difficult you hardly see people putting on face masks, and also people, even public places, their water seems to have run dry. It's no longer rushing, it's no longer flowing water, and in few places you still find sanitizer, maybe organized sectors such as banking, you have sanitizers and thermometer to measure temperature. But when you leave some level of organized environment, maybe schools, you find it very difficult to see people adhering to the COVID-19 protocol. And perhaps this is why government is saying, hey, we need to quickly come in and intervene. But recall, for major economic decision, there seems to be a set-off. So there is a attendant effect of what this will generate. Also, government may be looking at a large population. You know that the second largest population in Asia is India. And we know what is going on currently with India and COVID-19. We also know what is going on in Turkey, Brazil. We heard and we know, I beg your pardon, that America, the largest population in both North and South America, have had its own fair share of COVID concerns. And apart from that, well, I can also say that even South Africa, within the African territory, have also had our own share of economic quagmire as well as health concerns regarding COVID-19. This may be the reason why this committee, on behalf of President Buhari, have reintroduced some
Paul,
of these
just
measures.
A quick one, Paul. We haven't really seen the numbers from the local CDC as far as whether the infestations in Nigeria or number of fatalities are increasing. But here is the Presidential Steering Committee says there are concerns about the non-compliance. Why does it take this long for this? This is the first major notification we're getting since 2021 started. Nearly 6 months into the new year. So have we all relaxed and thought that the virus is no longer around the corner?
I think so. What you see is that even the first phase, second phase, third phase, and now, once the number is going down, people seem to become a bit more careless about some of the guidelines that we all adhere to. Also, because the number is going down, we have seen less than 50 consistently, according to NCDC. In a number of days or say weeks now, the number has been going averagely below 50. So people may think, yes, the number is going down. But when you still look at the gap that is unaccounted for, perhaps those that still occupy hospital beds, you still have about 5,000 people. So we should understand that these are lives, that Nigeria is not showing what is going on in the hospital like we have seen in India. We need to take a lot of precaution so that we don't get there. And these are genuine concerns. I think the Presidential Task Force Steering Committee on COVID-19 is taking decision on so that we don't find ourselves, because of our large population, largest in Africa. Recall that India is the second largest, America is the largest. So there's something with the numbers, and it spread really fast.
Okay,
perhaps that is why this committee is taking this.
So where do you think we should tighten the news if we are looking at this? Let's return to the COVID-19 protocols as laid out. Where do you think we need to tighten the news when we talk about the footprint of this virus in terms of where would it come into the country if we have to think about it that way? Do you think bars and restaurants or recreational centers will be a major focus point?
I think the first point is to perhaps reconsider entry into Nigeria. And anyone that's been to this flashpoint, countries that are reporting certain numbers, really high numbers, which includes Turkey, Brazil, India, and some other countries, based on the numbers that have been reported by Johns Hopkins University, we need to do something about those countries so that they don't gain access to Nigeria for now. We need to protect our own beyond locking the bars and putting a stop or reducing the capacity of event center to 50%. The question is whether if this train will come into Nigeria, it will come either by air or it's going to come by the ship, maybe importing things to Nigeria. That is where we need to pay more attention to, so that it does not get to us like we had I think February 28, 2020. How do we prevent that reoccurrence into Nigeria? Yes, the government seems to have reacted a bit earlier now, which is fine, but how do we also protect that even though you are not coming from those countries, but if it's recorded on your passport that you've been in those countries in the last 2 to 3 weeks, then you will have to stay in Nigeria. You will have to observe isolation that will be monitored by government authority or whoever government have appointed to do such for not less than 2 weeks, just for us to be sure.
So for now, the airports are not shut, the seaports still open for business, including the land borders. So how do you think businesses in general will react to these restrictions in terms of what you call a curfew, 12 midnight from tonight till 4 a.m. moving forward, and those bars that will have to be closed?
Perception is stronger than reality. There's a perception that government have mentioned reintroduction. In fact, some persons were even carrying it as lockdown, which is not absolute lockdown like we had this time last year. So it is good news for pharmaceutical and those in medical business. Is big good news for them. Data companies is also going to have a good news, because a lot of organizations have started putting some of their staff on notice that we may now need to do day in, day out, because we really don't understand the position government will take in the near future. But here is the other news. The other news is that a lot of persons, particularly those that operate within entertainment industry, that have the night economy will be eroded away, starting with bars and so many other businesses that are certainly giving a lot of jobs to Nigerian youth. Some of these businesses will be eroded.
Paul, let's talk about the night economy, the economics of COVID-19 when we return. Stand by, everyone. We'll be right back in 2. Welcome back to the show. Now, the reintroduction of the COVID-19 restrictions will have implications for Nigeria beyond the immediate period. In fact, the government is expected to drop its economic programs, strategies, and actions beyond the pandemic period. Now, looking at the immediate virus period and even beyond is Paul Alaje at SPM Professionals Live here in our Lagos studios. Thank you very much for standing by. Paul, you were talking about the night economy when you talk about cities, Nigeria's large cities like Lagos, like Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Calabar, for example. Now, with these restrictions and all that, you're saying that the night economy, the lounges, the clubs, the others, will be most impacted. Who are the bulk of the employees here who take jobs in these places?
Well, small businesses and those that are low-income earners will certainly be impacted. And when they are impacted, you are going to create urban poor. The danger of urban poor is more potent. It's more dangerous to have urban poor than to have even rural poor. Because these urban poor, they all already know those who are well-to-do within the society, within the community. They don't be surprised that we're having high level of banditry and kidnapping. All of these were aftermaths of COVID-19 lockdowns, even though it is not what many people want to hear, but it's the truth. When you create
there was the 1 million boys in Lagos during the lockdown.
Yes. When you create policies, even though meant for good, but you need to look at side effects. And that is why when you meet a pharmacist and you say you want to take certain drugs, you may think the drug is good, even doctors may think the drug is good, but pharmacists will tell you, have you considered the side effects of the drug you want to take. We are not saying it will not manage your headache, but we are saying that your liver may be at risk. So in making policy, we need to understand what are the side effects of policies we're about to make. So small businesses are going to be affected. I can give you an instance. A woman that sells sachet water at a motor park at night, leaving Lagos for Abuja. Such person, perhaps if people are not going out, or if such economy restriction have taken place, what happens is that your 500, 200, 100 naira you will give her may constitute 50 to 70% of our income, unlike large-scale businesses where 100 naira, 500 naira constitute about 0.001% of your income. So that does not matter to you. But you see, travelers and those that are moving from one point to the other are those that they depend their life on. The same with when you go to clubs and you go to other event centers. This economy really matters to them. When you take away nightlife, certainly quite a number of persons will be affected for negative reasons.
Youth, for example, are the most employed, aren't they? When you talk about event centers, when you talk about clubs or places of leisure that usually operate open for business, sometimes from about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening all the way into the wee of the morning.
Yes, small businesses, poor people, low-income earners are those that are usually employed in some of these places. And many of them have families, wives, husbands. They also have children, those that depend on them. So when you take them out of job, just recall the National Bureau of Statistics says unemployment figure already is 33.3% with underemployment above 20%. Where is the new economy? Currently, National Bureau of Statistics reveal that the economy is growing at 0.11%, which is already low. So in making some of these policies, we need to consider the side effects so that we don't create another national protest. I may get to that in a bit if the question
well, Paul, because again, it looks like the night economy is where sometimes some big money are spent. If you understand what I'm talking about. We talk about the lounges and the clubs, the kind of drinks and beverages that are sold there are not the ones you drink in the office in the afternoon.
Well, I don't know. I don't go to club, but I've read a lot about it. So I may not be able to tell you whether it is or not. But I can tell you 80-20 principle. Most of the lounges you see around, from our study, reveals that 80% of them are not just for those that are rich. You have the mid-income earner. You see somebody going by the roadside to sell some of the things that are consumed at the clubs. And also beyond clubs, we are talking of event center. We are talking of some of our superstars that go to do live performance at night in those places. The question is, when you reduce this, you are not just affecting that person. It's also going to affect the organizers of the shows, and so even taxi driver that move people at night, Uber, or name the brand, that are going to move people from one place to the other. They are all going to be affected. And I can give you an example here in Lagos where there are even food vendors at night. They open from 8 p.m. and they are there till 2 a.m. Well, who eats the food, I don't know. But if you check the next morning, you see that almost all of them have been
consumed. Talk about the suya spot, by the way. Yes. And that's where folks are driving home 8, 10 o'clock and grab some on the way home. But let's talk about now the part of the instructions is that companies are advised to ask their workers to work from home. Do you see this has happened as we had it at the time last year? Do you think it's going to be as hard as that to get folks locked down back again, work from home?
I doubt if government will do that, because if government decide to do that, like I mentioned...
Well, it's an advisory that you should advise your staffers to work from home. Do you think they will rather listen to you, or they want to get out and need the freedom?
I don't even think authority should give that advice right now, but because I can tell you that with what happened last year, when Nigeria had minus 6.4% GDP growth rate, the attendant effect was that you saw Nigerian youth shouting and screaming, "End SARS." What is the real implication? When I look at the black card on their hand, most of them were not carrying NSAS. They were talking about bad governance. They were talking of economic quagmire. They were talking of hunger deprivation. They were talking of quite a number of things. And when people are locked at home and their businesses, because private sector, small businesses revolve around all our economic activity, you might not be able to capture them as a formal sector. Their informal, that is the person that washes your car wash. When you're at home, who's going to wash your car? You perhaps not even going anywhere, so there is no need. So when there is opportunity for an outburst, national outburst, you see young people people taken to street, and the thing that the organization that become victim of this is Nigerian police. So, but when you look at the undertone, the underlying argument or complaint about the agitation against the police, you see that police is just not the main problem. Perhaps economic reasons and so on and so forth. And to prove this right, immediately after NSAS, what did you see? Looting started happening. People taking food, they said some politicians allegedly locked up for a certain period of time. So that tells you that at the backbone, apart from NSAS, which some persons say they have genuine reason to fight for, is also economic quagmire that have ravaged the people, deprivation. And when you talk about deprivation, what are you talking about? Denial of economic opportunities. That is deprivation. So a lot of people have been deprived from our population because of hunger, because of selfishness, because of mismanagement. Over the years, maybe not just this administration, but over the years, people have been deprived, people are hungry, and you know, when they are hungry, sometimes when they become angry, just pray that they are still hopeful. When they are hopeless, then you have a lot to deal with in your hands.
Well, Paul Alaje, we thank you for your time. I guess we have to leave it there for tonight. We still have a roadmap ahead of us, what we need to do beyond COVID-19. Thank you so much for your insight tonight on the show as we deal with the latest reintroduction and tightening the belt around the COVID-19 restrictions in Nigeria. Paul Alaje, Senior Economist from SPM Professional.